when we really pay attention to what Jesus is talking about and what Paul and the other New Testament writers are telling us about, at the end of the day, what Jesus is coming to do is establish a new family. In fact, it's why he chooses 12 disciples. Those 12 disciples are representative in a reinstitution of the 12 tribes of Israel, the sons of Jacob, who were the patriarchs that identified the nation of Israel from the very beginning. And so what Jesus is doing is reestablishing the people of God, or perhaps more accurately, expanding the people of God now to include Gentiles and people beyond the Jewish faith and religion at the first century. And when Paul gets into it with Peter and what he calls the Judaizers, people who are trying to make the Gentiles convert into Judaism, he talks about how there is no Jew, there is no Gentile, there's no male, there's no female in the family of God. And the whole point of that argument is that it is a family, it is a community of people that is being established by God through Jesus. And the point of what Jesus is doing is reestablishing the people of God in the world to live in communion with God. And so when we hear people say, or when we think, hey, I can be a Christian, I don't need the church, we are actually flat out wrong. We've bought into a modern, individualistic, me-centered idea or ideology that has infiltrated the church in a lot of different ways, but particularly in this way, in which we think we can go off and what it means to be a Christian is to just accept that Jesus is our Savior, and you can do that out in the woods by yourself, and you don't need the church. When in fact what Jesus is doing is creating this new family. So what it means to be a Christian, what it means to follow Jesus, is to live into that community with brothers and sisters who are also trying to follow Jesus. And that gets messy, and it's ugly at times, and as a family we fight, and that's not always pretty. That's the truth of the matter. And some of us get burned by it, and we're fed up with it. And it is true that there are certain expressions or certain churches, expressions of that family that are healthier than others, and some are terrible, and we just need to leave. So if you're in a community, in a church of people who are abusive or overly authoritarian or not loving in really any way, or primarily not loving, that's one that you probably need to think about distancing yourself from. But that doesn't mean you leave the church. It doesn't mean you can leave the family of God and continue to follow Jesus. It means that we need to seek out that community. And so at Emmanuel, we are trying very hard to be that type of community. And we're not perfect. No family is perfect. But we are trying to be a family and love one another and help each other be better people, be more of what God has created us to be. So if you're in a community that you don't feel loved, or you don't feel that it is quite right, or you don't feel that they understand that, I would encourage you to explore and find another one. If you want to come be part of ours, that's fantastic. We'd love to have you. But find a community of Jesus, a real community of Jesus, in which you can live and thrive and be loved and love others, that you can work with Jesus to make this a better world, more like the kingdom that it one day will be when he returns.